Good afternoon, everybody, and we're delighted to welcome you to the Supply Chain Apprenticeship and Traineeship webinar as part of the first ever Logistics and Supply Chain Skills Week. This session is going to be recorded, and we would encourage anybody who has any questions to put them into the chat, and we will get to them at the end of this presentation. So in terms of the agenda and what we have in store for you today, we're going to introduce you now to Michael O'Callaghan, who will cover education and training pathways, and myself, Aidan Flynn, will cover career paths and opportunities. And then we will have a number of speakers looking at traineeships and apprenticeships. And as I mentioned, we will get to a Q&A at the end of the session. So our first presenter today is Michael O'Callaghan, and Michael is a director instructor with IPICS, the Supply Chain Management Institute. Michael is an IPICS master instructor and provides supply chain instruction on online courses for ASCM and IPICS, supply chain certifications and certificate courses for IPICS. Michael is a subject matter expert for the IPICS CPIM. Michael is a certified trainer for the Fresh Connection TFC business simulation system and uses online supply chain simulation activities as enhanced learning tools in the provision of supply chain training and certification courses. Michael has a particular interest in providing supply chain training in sustainability and the circular economy.
Aidan, many thanks. My turn to go. So that's perfect. So the Logistics and Supply Chain Skills Group was formed in 2019 to promote careers in logistics and supply chain. And in 2021 and 2022, we presented online information about careers in logistics and supply chain to the Institute of Guidance Counsellors in Ireland. So that was really good. So this kind of webinar on logistics and supply chain apprenticeships and traineeships is part of the Logistics and Supply Chain Skills Week, which Aidan mentioned, which is taking place this week. So first time, it's like the Engineers Ireland kind of week. It's a similar kind of idea, so really good. It's really good to see apprenticeships are now on the CAO application system. This enables school leavers to choose an education training by way of a traineeship or an apprenticeship as an alternative to going to college or university. So it's really good to see that. Next slide, please. So on the previous slide, we saw everyone that's taking part in their logos. So it's great to have this kind of input from many different training organizations and so on. So really, I suppose the supply chain, just to give a broad view, it covers plan, source, make, deliver, return, enable. And I suppose they've been kind of key elements. So if we take some of the elements from the left to the right, I suppose from advanced planning and scheduling systems to sustainability and sourcing, to manufacturing, to logistics using 3PLs and 4PLs, and then to reverse logistics, and that aspect of the circular economy with goods coming back and so on, to supply chain analytics. So there's lots of kind of big area. It's in every industry and every company. So lots of kind of lots of job opportunities in the area of supply chain and logistics. Next slide, please. And in terms of career opportunities, as I follow on to this, before we go to the last slide, which looks at education pathways and so on, education training pathways. So I suppose project management is always there. The data analytics is becoming a much bigger area, data analytics and so on, blockchain, etc. Shipping and port operations, transport management, global trade and customs, sustainable manufacturing, and sustainability now goes through all of these areas, if you like, these clouds. Circular economy is really big. And then we have sustainability and sourcing and sustainable sourcing and supply management, distribution management and freight forwarding. And next slide, please. So in terms of, this is my last slide actually, but so in terms of a supply chain, many kind of people who are now CEOs came through the supply chain kind of route, and Tim Cook of Apple, the Apple CEO, is one of those. Also, I suppose it's good also to see that the Irish government has a Minister of State with the responsibility for the circular economy, Oisin Smith. So the Irish government is really taking it seriously. So if we look at this, we see plan, source, make, deliver, includes return and enable. And then down the bottom, we have on the left, we have associates, specialist, manager, leader, and executive. So the idea really is to map the kind of traineeships and apprenticeships, which I'll do in a minute, onto this grid. So you can see a path. So if we look at the planning one, I won't go through all of them, but if we look at planning, we've got kind of at the associate level, kind of a bill of material administrator, a supply planner, demand planner. Then at the specialist level, we have a planning supervisor, and maybe at the manager level, planning manager, and then in leadership level, planning director. If we go across maybe to manufacturing, we start at the operative level in the middle of the screen at the bottom, then a production supervisor, operations excellence manager, and then a production director. And then on the logistics side, we see kind of two paths there, like a warehouse operative and a driver. We'll be talking about drivers later, which is really good, driver training. There are warehouse supervisors, transport scheduler on the way up, warehouse manager, logistics manager, then warehouse director or logistics director. So really the idea is, if we, as you go through the kind of the webinar, we see that we have at the associate level, level 5, which is bottom left, it says associate on the left, we have the professional HGV driving traineeship, which comes next, and the logistics and distribution traineeship. Well, Aiden's coming next actually. And also at the associate level, we have logistics associate apprenticeship and the transport operations and commercial driving apprenticeship. Then specialist, and also we have a diploma supply chain manager at the associate levels, a lot at that level, a lot of training available in apprenticeships and traineeships. And at specialist level, then we have a level 8 on the National Framework Qualifications QQI grid. And we have a Bachelor of Science in Supply Chain at the apprenticeship level in the University of Limerick. And then at the manager level, we have a level 9, a Master of Science in Supply Chain Operations in UL as well, executive supply chain apprenticeships. So you can see that as you go through the webinar, you'll be able to map on from the bottom left, associate, specialist, manager, all the way up. So there's a path all the way up in terms of in terms of a career path. So it's great kind of education and training pathway, and great opportunities to make your way up. So I'd like to pass on to my colleague now in Logistics and Supply Chain Skills Group, Aidan Flynn, CEO of the Freight Transport Association of Ireland. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Michael. Yes, I'm Aidan Flynn. I'm the Chief Executive for the Freight Transport Association of Ireland, and I've worked with FTA Ireland since 2011. I'm chair of the Logistics Associate Apprenticeship and the Transport Operations and Commercial Driving Apprenticeship Consortiums. I'm passionate about delivering solutions for skills shortage in the freight distribution logistics sector. Developing and promoting compliance standards for the industry is integral to the work that I do. I also contribute to the collaborative approach to improving safety and standards for the industry in Ireland as well. So I'm delighted to be here. So in terms of skills shortage, it's been the #1 issue for FTA Ireland members at all levels of their organisations for quite a while. As mentioned, we are the lead proposer for 2 apprenticeships, the Logistics Associate Apprenticeship and the Transport Operations Commercial Driving Apprenticeship. And we've seen the Logistics Apprenticeship go from strength to strength, and hope that the recently approved and delivered driving apprenticeship will follow suit. Whilst the average size fleet in the haulage sector is 5.5 trucks, there are over 20,000 heavy goods vehicles in the own account sector, including retail distribution, waste management, agri-food and construction. And this, coupled with the 20,000 or so vehicles in the haulage sector, there are many different driving roles available and organisations that this apprenticeship will suit. Through an understanding of the freight distribution logistics industry in Ireland, will aid development and delivery of solutions that will support employers by the provision of opportunities for new ways to attract young people into their business and wider industry. The Addressing Future Skills Need report from 2018, which followed on from a Forfos report in 2015, put a spotlight on the skills demand forecast for logistics and supply chain occupations. Our industry has demonstrated magnificent resilience throughout the COVID pandemic, and coupled with the implications of post-Brexit trading requirements, the general public have never been exposed to the mechanics and workings of supply chain, heightening their understanding of what it takes to get goods to market on time, all of the time. This appreciation and understanding is giving everyone a boost and heightening the value of all workers in the supply chain. The Addressing Future Skills Needs reports are referenced to highlight critical skill gaps in the areas of freight transport, distribution and logistics sector, with particular emphasis on HGV driver shortages. And these opportunities will lead to greater career opportunities. With full employment, all sections of our economy are struggling to recruit the right people into the right jobs. The role of a professional heavy goods vehicle driver is under particular pressure due to an aging working population, the average age of drivers over 50, and the perception that it's not well paid and very labour-intensive, difficult job. This is not the case. Professional driving is highly regulated, and there are many commercial driving roles available for consideration. Industry and companies within the industry must be more proactive and participate in the solutions of the skills shortage. We are competing against many other sectors for limited resources, and it is incumbent on employers to develop long-term strategies to support succession planning within their organizations, begin to focus on attracting younger people into their business, and get better at promoting their organizations to discerning young people, prioritizing terms and conditions of employment and career progression opportunities. The fact is that the skills shortage is stymieing business growth opportunities. We need employers to start expanding their focus on young people and learning how they can compete in very competitive environment for these limited, scarce resources. The CBRE Kingspan Logistics Confidence Index Report 22 highlighted that only 12% of respondents were looking at working with younger people, with a key focus on salaries as a means of staff retention. The question needs to be asked: should the focus now not be on succession planning? It's great that we have such a lineup of speakers today to hear about the new and emerging education, training and apprenticeship programs that are supporting a new innovative recruitment opportunity for employers. When we look a little more detail at the Irish logistics sector, we see the main job areas are in transport and storage of 43%, 17% wholesale and retail, 10% manufacturing, 6% construction, with 23% in other sectors. As an island, we are reliant on strong maritime and aviation connectivity with the world. The main modes of distribution in Ireland are getting goods to and from the country, with over 80% are moved by road, by sea. On land, over 90% of the goods are moved by road. Air freight 5%, but 35% of total value of exports. As a member of the European Union, Single Market and Customs Union, as an island nation, the Irish supply chain is reliant on efficient multimodal distribution. Approximately 80% of employees in the transportation and storage sectors are male, and only 2% of HGV driving licenses are issued are held by women. The programs detailed here today, and also an objective of the Logistics and Supply Chain Skills Group, is to make our industry more attractive to women and supporting their engagement in the industry. In summary, Ireland is at the periphery of a golden age for the freight distribution and logistics sector. There is real opportunities to become global leaders in the delivery of efficient and professional supply chain services. Our population is expected to grow by over 1 million people, and the demand for freight services to grow by close to 100% over the next 20 years. With this in mind, coupled with the fact that we are at full employment, there are unfortunately many challenges. But to meet our objectives, we as an industry must work collaboratively. Partnerships within supply chains must be nurtured and developed to support all levels of supply chain deal with increased costs of operations, decarbonisation, and essentially skills shortage challenges. Without the right people to do the jobs at all levels of the supply chain itself would suffer. So the plan and strategy to attract people, including many more women into our industry, must be a collective supply chain-wide strategy. It's very exciting to be part of the first ever Logistics Supply Chain Skills Week, and we're heading in the right direction. You will hear about new programs that are designed to support recruitment for employers in our sector, offer people better career progression opportunities, and better skilled workforce for employers. I would now like to introduce you to Paul Jackman, who will provide information on the professional heavy goods vehicle driving apprenticeship. Paul has been on the IRHA management for over 7 years. His initial work on behalf of the IRHA was in pursuing an apprenticeship scheme for HGV drivers with Cavan Monaghan ETB, but has since morphed into the professional HGV traineeship, including its development and delivery through 7 ETBs to date. Paul continues to work with these ETBs in Ireland and through the EU and Brussels to help make the profession of driving more accessible and appealing to all, but especially our youth. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Aidan. Good afternoon, all. As you can see there, the headline is the traineeship, which Aidan just introduced you through me. We also have our youth and the EU which was on the previous presentation as well, the emphasis on getting our youth involved in the industry. And to that end, I've been very involved in policy change, primarily the licence directive in the EU, to make it easier for the youth in terms of cost and time to get involved in transport at the bottom, driving and working your way up the ladder that Michael referenced earlier. So if we could go ahead now, I'll just go into some detail on each of these. Thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you, Ed. So just to reiterate some of the points already made, the driver shortage in Ireland, we anticipate 4,000 to 5,000 currently, with many hauliers members of the IRHA. And as Aidan said, there's many trucks parked up all over Ireland because we have no drivers to get behind the wheel. The average age in Ireland within the EU is quite high at 53 years of age. And the average across Europe currently is 47. So while in the EU currently it's 425,000 of a shortage, it's anticipated to go up to 1 million by 2026. So that's the average age now and where it's going. And globally, currently 2.6 million of a shortage. So it's an issue in all developed countries. Next slide, please, Aidan. And here are two quotes from two senior personnel in the IRU, which is the International Road Transport Union, and they represent all transport associations across the EU in negotiating with the Commission, as in DG Move, which is the transport arm of the Commission. You can see the two quotations there, and I'll just draw your attention to two aspects of it. One is the 6 to 7% of the truck drivers population, and only 3% of coach drivers are below 25. So you can see the demographic time bomb, as it's called there, that is coming. So next slide, please. So the traineeship, why the traineeship? And I appreciate there's apprenticeships as well, but the traineeship, we were drawn into it for reasons of its duration. It's a 6 months minimum. So we just felt time, cost, the ability to deliver numbers quickly because of that time frame. The host company, so again, as Aidan referenced, the need for the industry to get involved. You have work placement elements, so the hauliers get involved, they sign up to a candidate that's doing the course, and they spend 30% of their time with the haulier. And what we also found, the flexibility within the traineeship, is that as we went to different areas, we found that we were able to insert modules and remove modules specific to the requirements of the transport industry in that area. For example, port inductions in Dublin, container transport, and then you go out the west, animal welfare and transport will be more a part of it. Over in Shannon, GDPR was required, and up there in the northwest, cranes for handling timber. So that module was included. So there's a flexibility to it. Another aspect that's not down there as well that I just like to quickly reference is there is no need to have the leaving cert. So that's an issue because so many of the apprenticeships require that the starting point is QQI level 5. This does not require that start. So again, we're focusing on the youth. We're very much going down the ladder in terms of age and to try and open up the industry to our youth. Next slide, please, Aidan. The potential market, the career change, obviously, and we have many examples of that. I won't go into them here, but it's just that the cost, it's a defined program. The cost is no cost, and the caliber of the training. So it's we have quite a number of people that have chosen it, always wanted to drive trucks. They saw the barrier of the time and the barrier of the cost, but they're getting over that through the traineeship. And our youth, again, I'm referencing this for a particular reason, and there's a QR code below that I'd like to reference, which backs up my number here of 40,000 of our youth are being made available to us all. And these are made up of people who don't go from the junior cert, don't carry on and do the leaving cert of 11,000. Those that don't go on to third level having done their leaving cert, which is approximately 26,000, and another cohort of people who drop out after the first year of university, which is between 3,000 and 3,500. So we have potentially a pool there to attract into the supply chain of 40,000. So it's about making it accessible. And I personally think that we need to go down from the 16 to 18-year-old bracket is where we need to get them in to either training or training in-house. And the unemployed, obviously, and the national unemployment is rightly referenced. But if you actually go into the demographics of that, we're looking at youth unemployment, and this is an issue right across Europe, where the 16 to 25-year-olds, sorry, is a multiple of what it is. So we're looking at this group of people who are, if you like, and some of them are in no man's land. They go out of the education system, and currently people who do leave after the junior cert, there isn't a route to a career. there's less options available to what we'd like to see. So this is just where we think the traineeship has a role. So next slide, please, Aidan. Thank you. And this is an example of a poster for the traineeship in Waterford. As I said, the course they do is City and Guilds accredited as well, so it has an international status. And by early next year, we anticipate we'll have 1,000 trainees gone through the program. We're looking at, depending on the ETB, you isolate and look at their figures. We're looking at a 50 to 90% placement within the industry per course. Waterford, Wexford will be one of the highest actually. And I've put in there the training standards versus industry standards. And I'm just highlighting this as an issue that the industry, you know, when you go back to Michael's slide, when you see where the industry is, including the transport industry and the technology they use and the vehicles that are being used, the training standards aren't up to the spec of what the industry is at. And we're finding that people coming through the training regime, they actually need training when they get to the industry, because the industry is so far ahead in terms of the equipment, the vehicles, the technology. So it's just something that, and the education is here. I think it's just something that requires attention. The female participation, it's something that is very poor within the industry. Per class is 6 to 16% of each class. So I just thought that was the stat that people might find interesting. Next slide, please, Aidan. Thank you. Now, the other actions in Europe, I mentioned Europe earlier on, and again, there's a focus here again on the youth. The license directive, there's elements of the license directive that I'd like to emphasize here. 17-year-olds, we're now allowing, like the aviation industry, you can do your training before you actually reach the age of doing your test. Currently, that's not the case with the trucks. You have to reach the age where you can do your test and then you start your training. So the license directive is going to open that up where 17-year-olds can actually drive trucks, rigids and Arctics on the road accompanied before they do their test at 18. So the age to get your license is the same, but the training. So it's actually taking practically a year off the ability to get a license and get out there working. So this is bringing it back. The modern trucks, we're changing the definition of the vehicles to try and make them more modern. The box body, we were looking for that to be removed to make every vehicle that's out there a potential training vehicle so that companies can get more engaged. And they're also splitting the rigid and the Arctic license. So currently you have to do a rigid training and test before you go onto the Arctic. They're splitting that requirement, which means you can go direct into the Arctic. And what we're finding in the traineeship is 20 to 25% of each class, they're gone once they got their rigid license. They're being poached because the offers of jobs are so strong with strong wages that they're not actually seeing out the course. So this will help us get over that as well. The safe and secure parking is an EU initiative, and the 10T routes every 100 kilometers, there is many billions going into this right across the EU, including Ireland. The driver charter is another IRU initiative to get companies engaged to improve the conditions and treatment of drivers on sites. And just an interesting one there in Belgium, they've introduced driving training into schools from 16 on, and children in Belgium doing extracurricular activity can now leave school at 18 with an Arctic license. That's what they've set up to deal with their own in crisis, as they call it, within the transport industry. So to imagine that 18-year-olds are leaving with a skill set of an Arctic license where they could potentially travel the world working in every country is just extraordinary. Next slide, sorry, Aidan, thank you. And this is my suggestions for change. So if you go into this QR code, you'll see it backs up the 40,000 plus that I mentioned earlier. And it's just primarily focusing in on the need for, I appreciate many apprenticeships do have a mathematical need, but I just wonder, is there an absolute need to have the leaving cert as a prerequisite for so many apprenticeships? It's adding to the imbalance. That's just my suggestion. But if you're interested, you can go in there. And the next slide then is the list of ETBs, the 7 that are currently delivering the traineeship. So thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Thank you, Aidan.
Thanks, Paul. So now we'll move on to Caroline McKenna Cooper. And Caroline has worked in the City of Dublin ETB since the early 1900s. Also, 1990, excuse me.
Not that old now.
Also an experienced QQI external authenticator. In addition, Caroline sits as academic chair for CMI. She has a master's degree in Germanistics and recently graduated at NFQ level 9 in governance and management from the IPA. currently employed as Director of Adult Education in BCFE, where she has developed 3 traineeships and is responsible also for employer engagement and Erasmus. Caroline is joining us today to talk about the BCFE traineeship in logistics and distribution, which she has developed in tandem with Lidl Ireland. Delighted to have you, Caroline. Thank you.
Thanks, Aidan. Okay, so good afternoon, and thank you so much to the organisers, but especially want to thank a few people, Denise Cuff, Michael O'Callaghan, and of course, Aidan, for the opportunity to address you all today. So I know it's beginning to feel like an Oscar speech already, so apologies if I've left anyone out. I'll reference a few more people as I go who've contributed greatly to our traineeship. As per the introduction, I'm Caroline McKenna Cooper, and I'm lucky to have a job that I love as Director of Adult Education in Ballyfermot College, aka BCFE, and a constituent college of City of Dublin Education and Training Board. I'm delighted to have been asked to present our traineeship in logistics and distribution as part of this awareness week for the sector today, though I must caveat this with the fact that I'm not an industry or sector expert, and I'm here to represent education and traineeships for City of Dublin ETB. I'm glad that both Aidan and Paul referenced the gender differential in their presentations with regard to female participation. On this slide, you'll see the BCFE poster that we developed with Lidl Ireland. We are with this poster trying to break any gender stereotypes for the industry. Part of my role in BCFE is to conduct industry and sectoral engagement across to date our 4 traineeships. And in BCFE, we developed this particular traineeship in logistics and distribution in terms of content with Lidl Ireland across a year of engagement. Lidl had been especially involved in the traineeship in relation to proposing content, extra training, support, mentoring, and an amazing site visit to their recently expanded regional development centre, regional distribution centre in Mullingar. You'll see here from this slide that it is a full QQI level 5 award, and we're going to look at content in a few minutes. We very much wanted to look at having a full award. Lidl were very strong on this, as were BCFE, because the full award can facilitate progression to higher education, obviously, as well as employment. Next slide, please. As previously stated, this is a full QQI level 5 award, and as I said, this was of particular importance to both BCFE and Lidl in terms of the development of this traineeship. We wanted to look at the enhancement of employability of our trainees and also facilitate progression to higher education, truly future-proofing the careers of our participants. Other training is also scheduled, such as first aid, customs, etc. Customs now being such a contemporary issue with the Windsor framework, and also fire safety, forklift driving, etc. The bullet points on this slide showed the list of 8 modules at QQI needed to trigger a full award. In BCFE, our traineeship runs on a slightly different model to our standard courses, in that they commence in the September or October of a given year, and they run for a 52-week cycle. You would see the core sectors of the industry are covered in terms of freight forwarding, warehousing, inventory control, and purchasing. However, maths and spreadsheets, we thought, along with Lidl, were necessary evil. I know maths can sometimes put people off a little bit. And we hope to implement Time IT or a similar system next year. To help students in terms, or trainees in terms of freight forwarding and the issues that arise there, and to keep up to date with what industry is doing, which was said by a previous speaker, that sometimes the education institutions are a little bit behind what industry actually wants. The communications module we found is of paramount importance for developing soft skills and also writing skills for CVs, letters of applications, etc., especially in a lot of cases where English may not be language 1 for some of our learners. And due to the changing demographic nature of our population, this is a trend that's set to continue. I'm sure many companies in the sector can attest to the fact that they are now employing employees from many different nationalities. The uniqueness of our BCFE traineeship and its unique selling point is that our trainees are already work ready when they come to the employer and are able to do from day 1, not just observe or work shadow, having had training in first aid, as I said, customs, forklift driving, manual handling, etc. Employers and cooperating companies who take a trainee on for 3 months must undertake to pay €10 per day out of pocket expenses, which any good accountant will tell you is tax deductible for the company, and trainees are fully insured, obviously, by City of Dublin Education and Training Board. Next slide, please. Okay, here you see a little bit more of how our traineeship operates. It's supplemented by on-site visits and guest lecturers. A key part of the traineeship and all the traineeships that we run and develop in BCFE is the extent of stakeholder engagement and contact that takes place with employers to ensure that we are meeting the needs of the sector. As I said previously, trainees are work ready by the end of May. So any companies here who wish to discuss having trainees or coming on board with us to have trainees, please get in touch and do contact me if you want to be a cooperating company, as we have exceptional trainees this year. Another big attraction of the traineeships is that there are no fees. With an economic downturn, purse strings are being pulled tighter. So the traineeships are very attractive, and any benefits that a trainee has from DSP migrate with them on the traineeship, and City of Dublin Education and Training Board takes over those payments for the duration of the traineeship, along with a daily food and travel allowance. Furthermore, our trainees in BCFE are fully supported by a dedicated guidance counsellor, and City of Dublin Education and Training Board also has an excellent employer engagement unit led by Margaret Corbett. So again, any companies or organisations here today, please feel free to contact both of us, and I'll put details of how to do so in the chat function. I think, is that my last slide? No, one more. Okay. BCFE values engagement with sectoral players. So huge thanks are due to James Carron and Nick Conlon in Legal Ireland, Lorcan Sheehan and Megan Yates of World Skills fame, some of whom I think are probably joining us today. We've gone on a lot of trips. We went to Waterford to visit Bell Logistics. We went to Belfast Port. We're hoping to bring our trainees to experience the world of logistics in Hamburg as part of an Erasmus program for 2 weeks in September. So as you can see, lots of possibilities, really, really exciting times, guaranteed employment for all of these people, once we get them onto a course. I think it's a case of getting the message out there and saying, that this is all possible. I'd like to thank everyone for your attention today, and this snapshot look at just one of our flagship trainees and its development in BCFE. And I look forward to engaging with any or all of you, and I'm happy to take questions later as part of our schedule. Thank you very much.
Thanks a million, Caroline. Very interesting. Hopefully we'll have time for a few questions towards the end. So now we'll move on to Anna Greca, who is Apprenticeship Project Manager for the Logistics Associate Apprenticeship. Anna is a logistics professional with 10 years of operational and managerial experience in transport and distribution operations, fleet management, motor transport, compliance auditing, road transport, and driver's hours compliance. In addition, an RSA accredited trainer of driver CPCs and holder of a certificate in professional competence in international road transport operations management. Her prior roles included distribution shift manager at Brakes Ireland, Palace Foods, and compliance manager at Lucy Transport Logistics. Since 2018, Anna has been working as a project manager for the Logistics Associate Apprenticeship, which has been designed to address skill shortages in the supply chain and logistics industries. Over to you, Anna.
Thanks, Aidan. Good afternoon, everybody. So as per Aidan's introduction, I'm Anna Gorecka, and I'm the Apprenticeship Project Manager for the LAA program. So just to briefly kind of explain my role and what it involves. So I'm the point of contact in terms of providing information for the employers and also for the candidates in terms of this apprenticeship. I also assist employers to get registration sorted, I suppose, with SOLAS and get approval and registration for this apprenticeship. And the same applies with the candidates in terms of if anybody is looking to become an apprentice, I'm the point of contact to get the relevant information and also to assist candidates in getting the placement for the apprenticeship. So currently on the slide, you can view my contact information, so please take a note of them. We have also a dedicated website for our apprenticeship, and all the contact information are also on our website, which is www.laa.ie. Next slide, Aidan. So just before I'm gonna talk to you about the Logistics Associate Apprenticeship, just want to briefly mention about the apprenticeship system here in Ireland. So currently there are nearly 70 apprenticeship programs available here in Ireland, and those include the craft and non-craft apprenticeship programs. So as you can see on this slide, there are actually currently almost 9,000 employing organizations that are actually using the apprenticeship system to attract new talent into the business, but also use the apprenticeship to upskill their existing workforce. And also over 26,000 apprentices are currently on the apprenticeship, on different apprenticeships in Ireland. Next slide, Aidan. So this apprenticeship was developed on the foot of recommendation in expert group on future skill needs reports. And these reports highlighted critical skills gap in logistics and supply chain sector and forecasted a potential demand for 45,000 new entrants to the sector and logistics roles over the years of 2016 and 2025. So the need for intervention to rise the profile of the sector, upskill existing employees, recruit new talent, and develop the apprenticeship program to facilitate a pathway into the sector were among the recommendations made. Next slide. So in terms of the background of the program, so Logistics Associate Apprenticeship is the first apprenticeship program that was launched for the logistics industry. We are one of the new programs, which is a non-craft apprenticeship. So the program itself was validated back in May 2018. And already in September 2018, we started the first class of logistics apprentices in the former DIT, currently it's Technological University Dublin. So initially back in September 2018, we welcomed 27 logistics apprentices to the program. And initially we had 17 employers that they were registered and approved to deliver the training part of the program. Next slide, Aidan. The unique piece about the apprenticeship and what it makes it really unique and different in terms of other supply chain programs and courses, it's that it's entirely led by the industry. So in terms of how the apprenticeship is designed, the structure, the content of the modules, and so on, all the decisions are made by the industry. So this program has been invented by the industry for the industry. So that's the unique piece. Also on the consortium, we have all the professional bodies representing the sector. We have universities and some of the companies who were involved in the development process of the program. And we have many more who are on the are members of the consortium. Next slide. So last September, that was our 5th intake. So currently we have 98 employing organizations that are approved and to deliver the training component of the program within their organizations. We have such a huge interest in the program. Every week we have new companies inquiring and joining the apprenticeship. And since 2018 till last September, we have enrolled over 300 logistics apprentices on the program, and that's across 2 universities we work with, which is TU Dublin and MTU Cork. So as you can see, I couldn't fit in all the employers we work with, but we work with all the major global logistics companies and also smaller businesses, but the companies we work with, they represent every link of the supply chain. So there's great opportunities in terms of getting a placement and kick off a career in logistics. Next slide, Aidan. So in terms of the program overview and structure, so this program is very much designed for school graduates. So for those students who are going to be sitting the Leaving Cert exams, and instead of going to university and choosing a full-time course, they can actually access the fair level education through this apprenticeship. Also, this is designed for mature students, career changers, and existing employees. And on the program, we have a mix of those candidates. So in terms of the LAA, this is a 2-year program, and on successful completion of the program, apprentices get awarded with the higher certificate in logistics, which is internationally recognized qualification. And also the key strength about the program is that from level 6, our apprentice graduates can progress to level 7 programs. So in terms of the education providers, this apprenticeship is being delivered by TU Dublin and MTU Cork. Next slide. So how it works. So it's a 2-year program where apprentices are being, or candidates are being employed by the logistics company. And throughout the period of 2 years, 1 day a week, they're being released by the employing organization to attend the classes at the university. And the remaining 4 days, they stay with the employer where they are being trained in the workplace. So they get to see how things are done in their real life, and they're getting a real work experience and so on. So there is a broad range of logistics modules, case studies, interactive presentation and exercises, and also we have a guest speaker attending and joining the classes. There's obviously the important component of this apprenticeship is the work-based learning that is taking place in the employing organization. So there is work-based project that needs to be completed by apprentices in the year 2 and some modules that are designed for the on-the-job part. And also apprentices have to complete a weekly reflective journal where they need to record the training they're being provided by the employing organization. So every apprentice also is being assigned with the work-based mentor. It's somebody who is an experienced member of staff and can, I suppose, guide and support the apprentice through the apprenticeship journey. Also to support employing organizations and new mentors, especially so they understand their role within the process. Universities provide a free certified mentor training to mentors. Next slide. In terms of the program content, so the modules delivered by the universities in year 1 would be logistics and supply chain management, customer service, communication and professional skills, customs and international trade, also logistics information systems. In the year 2, the modules are road, air, sea freight, logistics, distribution and warehousing, quantitative analysis and Excel. And as I've mentioned, a big part of the year 2 would be work-based project the apprentice has to complete. So it is a very rich program because it covers all relevant aspects of logistics. So really apprentice gets a great overview of the sector. And obviously it's about the blended learning approach that the apprentice learned the theory at the university, which it applies into practice in the employing organization. Next slide. Important point to note is about the entry requirements. So to keep it very simple, for the candidates who are looking to do the apprenticeship and get on the program, the requirements are that they need to have to achieve a pass in English and maths in the Living Cert. The other entry route would be if there are holders of the QQI level 5 or level 6 in cognate areas such as business, logistics, distribution, and so on. But also mature students or applicants who've been already working in the sector and have relevant work portfolio can also enter the program for recognition of peer learning. For the employers, very straightforward. They need to be approved and assessed and registered with SOLAS, which is the Further Education and Training Authority. We assist with that process as well. So if there's any employers looking to register for apprenticeship and facilitate it within their business, please get in touch and we can get this arranged. Next slide. In terms of fees and funding, the apprenticeship is funded, or the tuition part of the program is funded by the Higher Education Authority. The only cost is the apprentice annual registration fee. It's currently €800. It hasn't changed since 2018. And in many cases, actually, the obligation lies with the apprentice to pay that fee, but in many cases, actually, it's employer who is willing to cover the fee on behalf of the apprentice. And also, apprenticeship employers are eligible to get a state funding, which is currently at €2,000 annually, paid annually per employed apprentice. So in terms of the lay program, they receive €4,000 over a period of 2 years. Next slide, Aidan. So in terms of the apprenticeship salary, so those employers who are recruiting external candidates, they need to offer apprentice an employment contract or apprenticeship contract for a minimum period of 2 years. And during the apprenticeship, candidates or apprentices are being paid a full-time salary. The salary is really determined by the employer, and the minimum wage, that's what the employer legally has to pay. But it doesn't mean that that's what the apprentices are being paid. Many of companies do offer really good benefits in terms of the salary and so on. Next slide. So overall, what are the benefits of getting involved in the apprenticeship for the businesses? It's a proven way to attract new talent into the business. Apprenticeship offer upskilling and career progression opportunities for existing workforce, increases pool of qualified people within the business, assist with building loyalty among staff, help with succession planning. And this program or the apprenticeships are built around work-related experience and work-specific projects. So there's a free certified at level 6 mentor training provided by the universities to work-based mentors. It's tuition-free program that reduces the training cost. And also apprenticeship employers are eligible for state funding. Next slide. In terms of what the benefits are for apprentices, it's actually a very, very rich, I suppose, and attractive package for candidates. You know, on completion, they're getting awarded with the QQI level 6, a higher certificate in logistics. It's internationally recognized qualification. When they complete the apprenticeship, they are fully employable. They earn as they learn. So during the apprenticeship program, they earn a full-time salary. Even for the day when they're being released to university, they're still being paid. They get to access fair-level education with the apprenticeship as well. They get offered a 2-year employment contract, which very often leads to the permanent position within the employing organization. The whole idea why the companies are getting involved in taking apprentices on, and they invest their money and time to invest in training somebody, is because they want to retain the talent within the organization. But also apprentices gain valuable on-the-job experience and workplace skills, and they have an excellent career opportunities in this vibrant sector on completion of the program. Next slide. Yeah, so for those candidates who are considering to become an apprentice and get involved, the first step would be to go on our website and register interest to become an apprentice. And the reason why is that we will send you the information pack, we will send you the list of registered companies with the program, and we will also, we have on our website a job section dedicated to employers who are looking to take apprentices on this September. So you can actually right away go and have a look. We have 8 companies currently recruiting. And those companies are only just starting the recruitment drive at the moment. So we're gonna have more jobs advertised on that section. But also we will keep you up to date. So when the new company will be recruiting, we will send you a notification directly to your email. The same for the companies who are looking to take on apprentices. We have a database of candidates who are registering to become an apprentice and they're looking for a replacement. So we do the advertisement of the apprenticeship roles on behalf of the employers, and we can connect you with those candidates. So it's been working really well. This is all free service as well. Currently, we are recruiting. So our intake is always once a year in September. So currently we are recruiting for this September, and the Logistics Associate Apprenticeship offers education, work experience, qualification, all in one go. Thank you. Okay, so the transport.
Anna, thanks a million. So you're going to cover just a brief overview of the transport operations commercial driving apprenticeship on our behalf as well. So a lot of similarities in terms of what you've spoken about, but we'll keep going. Thanks a million.
Thank you. So yeah, next slide then, Aidan. So So transport operation and commercial driver apprenticeship, it's been developed by Freight Transport Association Ireland, ATU Sligo, and the consortium steering group of logistics industry professional bodies and employers. It's a relatively new apprenticeship program that was launched in May 2022. The first cohort of 22 apprentices began studies last September with 20 employers providing on-the-job training. Next slide. So those are just the companies that have been involved in the consortium steering group. Next slide. So the academic program is delivered over 2 years of this apprenticeship. It's September till May inclusive. During the academic term, apprentices will spend 1 day per week attending online classes and the remaining 4 days in the workplace to complete work-based learning. And the intake takes place in September every year. The academic award for this apprenticeship is a higher certificate in business in transport services from ATU, but apprentices will also achieve the C+E driver license. Next slide. So structure of the program, year 1 consists of CPC training, driving test completion. There are 5 business modules covered by the university, which I'm going to outline in the next slides. HGV and CBRT workshop, e-portfolio. Year 2 consists of road freight operation and health and safety, sustainable transport operation for business modules and e-portfolio. So on completion of this program, an apprentice has driver qualification, academic qualification, and the apprenticeship is complete and it's fully employable as well. In terms of the funding, it's a tuition-free program funded by the Higher Education Authority. On-road driver training, driving test, and driver CPC training are also covered by the state funding. And students enrolled in this apprenticeship pay a reduced annual registration fee of €800. And like I said, in many instances, employers do cover that fee as well on behalf of the apprentice. Next slide. So what does an apprentice commercial driver do? So there are many roles that candidate can have as an apprentice commercial driver. So apprentices will learn about the industry, the employer's business, and the role of the driver while preparing for their driving qualification. They can then put that knowledge into practice in their role. So they can be a driver's helper, assisting with loading and unloading vehicles, with route planning, also being involved with transport operations such as distribution and deliveries, import, exports operation, warehouse operations, and freight forwarding our picking orders. Next slide. So some of the modules in terms of the university that are being delivered by the university, a component, it's personal effectiveness and ICT skills, supply chain management, principles of professional driving, introduction to HGV technology and CVRT, customer care, warehousing, distribution, introduction to finance. Next one. Road freight operation and route planning, customs, international trade, legal studies for the transport industry, health and safety at work, introduction to management on organization behavior, enterprise and market development, sustainable transport operation and technologies. So requirements for the program. All applicants must meet the program entry requirements and medical requirements for driving. So be at least 18 years old at program commencement, must have a full B license. And applicants will be required to have a medical report to assist the application for learner permit driver license in any of the C categories. Next slide there. In terms of the education component, they need to also achieve pass in English and maths in the Living Cert at ordinary level, but also if somebody has completed the QQI level 5 or level 6 qualification, they can enter through this route. And also this is open for people who are already working in the sector, but they have to be a mature student, so 23 years old or older or above, and also have a letter of recommendation from the employer to enter the program. Next slide. Yeah, so we're pretty much the same with the LAA. We have intake in September. Currently, we are recruiting, and any employers who are interested to get registered with the program, our contact informations are appearing on the slide. We have dedicated websites. We have developed relevant information and guides for both employers and candidates that they can be downloaded from the website. So please get in touch. Thank you.
Well done, Anna. Thanks a million. So now we move on with any further delay to Fergal Delaney, and Fergal is Program Manager with IPICS, the Supply Chain Management Institute. His supply chain roles cover technology, life sciences, telco, and 3PL industries. He has operated as an independent consultant to Indigenous and global companies. He specializes in systems, program, and change management from an implementation and learning perspective. Fergal has a BSc in pure mathematics and computer science from Queen's University at Belfast. Good afternoon, Fergal.
Thanks, Aidan, for that. And I'd like to, Aidan, if you want to go on to the next slide. There's the topics for the closing part of our presentation today. I'll just give a quick overview of the apprenticeship programme, although you'll have seen it from some of our other speakers. I'd like to talk about the partners who are providing the supply chain apprenticeship. I'll talk about some of the programme essentials that you need to have to participate in the supply chain apprenticeships. Then I'll touch on what courses we have available at level 7 diploma, the supply chain associate, at level 8 degree, the supply chain specialist, and at level 9, the supply chain manager. And then I'd like to finish off just talking about what our community of practice adds to the supply chain apprenticeships in terms of webinars, site visits, and summer schools, because that's a part of what makes the apprenticeship programme quite a bit different from conventional learning programmes. Next one, please. So just about the generation apprenticeship, you'll have seen this from some of the previous speakers, but the key messages are here is that the apprenticeship programs across Ireland are all about upskilling the economy. And key features of the apprenticeship programs are the fact that it's combining structured education and training alongside workplace and institution learning. So the links into business and the links into industry are a very strong part of what drives the apprenticeship programs. So it's all about collaboration between business and education. And these programs are kept on track by sort of steering groups known as consortia to direct the development and implementation of the apprenticeships. A key aspect as well of the apprenticeships in general is the very important funding we get from Solus, which helps drive down the cost for the apprentices, either in terms of the companies or the individuals involved. Next one, Aidan, please. So in terms of the supply chain apprentices that I'm talking about, I'm a program manager for IPICS. IPICS is the professional body for the supply chain. We've been around working with industry in Ireland and globally since the early 80s. We're affiliated with the global IPICS, the American Production Inventory Control Society, who are the Association for Supply Chain Management. So it's very much a global organization in terms of the offerings that we have. The programs we offer are certified, they're globally recognized, and they're a combination of online and blended courses, both to the public and to industry. So that's what we as IPICS bring to the party in terms of the business links into the supply chain in Ireland and further afield. And the delivery partner with us is very important to us, obviously, is the University of Limerick, who themselves have very strong links into industry, into the supply chain. What they bring is the NFQ accreditation, but particularly robust industry-leading blended learning technologies, and we partner in the delivery of the supply chain apprenticeships. Okay, and the next one, please. So just in terms of the requirements to undertake apprenticeship, either as an individual or as a company, well, there are minimum academic requirements. These are level 7, level 8, level 9 programs. So we don't skimp on the requirements that people need to go into these programs, but an important part of what a potential student can bring to the program is that we do recognize prior learning, because the individuals coming on our supply chain programs are typically working in the supply chain, have been for various durations, so their prior learning and prior expertise is taken into account before they can register for either of the courses. They need to be in a full-time contract of employment for at least 2 years with the employer, so that their entire program can be covered while they're with their employer completing the program. The company support that is offered to the apprentices is very important in terms of not just the financial support that the company gives, but the time and the flexibility that the company gives to the apprentices to complete the programs. Online on-the-job learning is very important in terms of applying theory to practice. The students undertake projects and they adapt business processes where they work. So the learning that they get on the program, the various aspects of the program, they bring back to their businesses while they're doing the apprenticeship and introduce ideas and techniques into their roles in their departments in the jobs. And a very important part of the apprenticeship programs are the fact that there are formal mentoring programs from in-company experienced supply chain people for the learners who are trying to get on board with either the level 7, level 8 or level 9 programs. And the fees, as I said, are very competitive in terms of these sorts of programs. So they're around €900 per year for either of the programs supported by the government through Solace. Okay, Aidan? So just to say, like the apprenticeships, the sort of roadmap or career path that an apprentice in the supply chain might have is from associate to specialist to manager. So that's from level 7 to level 8 to level 9, right up to the MSc level. But there are a number of other apprenticeships offered through the University of Limerick, which are also potential paths for people in terms of Lean Six Sigma, equipment system engineering, or indeed cybersecurity practitioner apprenticeships. And indeed, there is a level 10 apprenticeship offered in terms of principal engineering, taking you to the doctorate of engineering level. So very important to see that the supply chain is just one part of the overall jigsaw of apprenticeships offered to people who have got varying career paths. Aidan, next one, please. I'm conscious of time here, so I'll go through these quite quickly. In the level 7 diploma, which is the supply chain associate. Just a few notes on what the program covers. 2-year program, 20 modules over 6 semesters, and the program includes 2 in-company projects, summer school in year 1 of the program, and typically apprenticeships can expect to spend about 12 hours study per week in completing the program over the 2 years. Curriculum is very much supply chain focused, with case studies and in-house work, the introduction to supply chain management, forecasting and scheduling, core supply chain programs. In the next one, please. When you move into the level 8 program, in terms of, Aidan, can you go back to the level 8, please? We've jumped. Thanks. When you look at the level 8 degree program, which is the supply chains specialist, also runs over 2 years, 19 modules, 6 semesters, 120 ECTS credits for those who are willing to, are keen on sharing their educational achievement in other countries. So the credits are shareable to the European credit transfer system. Again, 2 in-company projects, and again, students undertake a summer school in UL in the summer of their first year. And again, we expect approximately 12 hours study per week from the students. On the curriculum on the right-hand side, you see that there are some more non-core supply chain subjects being introduced to the program, such as statistics, management of change, simulation modeling. In other words, the level that the students are reaching in the curriculum has taken a step up from the level 7 program. Next one, Aidan, please. And in the supply chain manager, which is the level 9 program, again, over 2 years, 10 modules. Again, ECTS credits are awarded, but the interesting thing is here that part of the level 9 master's program students undertake a thesis which contributes to their credits and to their learning. And the sort of expectation is that there's 15 hours per week from the students. And again, it's very much a management, supply chain and general management curriculum, as you see from the curriculum topics on the right. Okay, and next one, please. Just a word on what the community of practice offers. And this is one thing that sort of differentiates the apprenticeship from conventional programs, is that we run evening webinar series where we bring in industry leaders in supply chain to virtual webinar sessions. The sort of topics that we've covered over the last few years have been supply chain and resilience, high performance supply chain organizations. We try and make the topics as topical as possible. So for instance, you'll notice there ocean freight and the pandemic, or the customer experience on PPE in the supply chain, the protective equipment during the COVID crisis, some experiences of various speakers on current topics. So that evening webinar series is open to all of our supply chain students as part of their apprenticeship. Next click, Aidan, please. Company visits, we mandate that students have to visit a number of leading supply chain companies throughout the country. Obviously, during COVID, we were restricted in what we could do. We did some of our company visits virtually, but now that we've opened up after COVID, the sort of companies that we have our students going to include organizations such as Thermo King, Irish Rail, Johnson & Johnson Vision Care, and people can also attend various manufacturing or supply chain shows, exhibitions to gain their company visits. Next one, Aidan, please. And just in our summer school hosted in UL, like most of the program is virtual, but for each of the first years in whatever program they're in, they attend physically for a number of days in the summer school. Again, very much curtailed during COVID, but at last year's summer school, we did a full day where we executed a supply chain simulation game called the Fresh Connection, where all of our students got the opportunity to, in a controlled environment, of course, to operate as procurement managers or supply demand managers or warehouse managers and see the effect that their decisions in the supply chain would have in a fictional organization. And it was a fascinating example of simulating the supply chain in the real life. Next one, Aidan, please. And just to finish off, important to note that we've actually got our first masters graduating. They graduated last August. That's the White House and the University of Limerick, where the graduates, one of the first set of graduates at this level graduating at master's level, and the Minister for Higher Education was there, and the President of the University of Limerick, as well as a crowd of very happy masters, supply chain masters. And Aidan, that more or less, just if we go to the last slide, just contact details. If you need any information on these supply chain apprenticeships, either email me at Fergal, feargal.delaney@ipics.ie, or alternately go to UL, apprenticeships@ul.ie, and we'd be delighted to talk to you. So thanks a lot, everyone.
Thanks very much, Fergal. And I'm conscious of time as well, that we have run over the hour a little bit, but I have to say, very informative and excellent presentations by all the contributors today. So thanks very much to everybody. But I think, Fergal, while we have you on screen there, perhaps one question that's come in, they're just wondering, do you see more supply chain logistics education and training programs moving online, perhaps, and becoming, or becoming more of a blended offering for people? How do you see that working out?
I think the word has to be blended. I think COVID was, like, for all its negative connotations, it forced us to prove that technology could work in this sort of training. So the fact that we could continue delivering these courses through major disruption was great for education and learning in Ireland. But I think having, like, we talk about the community of practice in terms of our supply chain, we do try to build a community where supply chain professionals, even though they might just be apprenticeships, are getting to understand about their business. And it is all about a community. And if you think of how industry in Ireland works, we're a small country, we all know each other. So I don't ever lose sight of the face-to-face community that we're trying to build. But yes, we do take advantage of all of the virtual tools to facilitate people who are anywhere in the country, and that's worked very well for us in the supply chain apprenticeships.
Thanks, Fergal. I have to say, I am struck by the options that are now available to everybody at all levels, and I think all the traineeships and apprenticeships work very, very well with each other. And I suppose a considerable thanks to Michael O'Callaghan for organising this presentation and webinar today. So I'm going to give you the final word, Michael. And I've worked with you on the consortium for the Logistics Associate Apprenticeship, and now on the Logistics and Supply Chain Skills Group over the last number of years. How would you summarise the changes over the last 4 or 5 years, and how positive are they for the future of the logistics and supply chain industry in Ireland, do you think?
Thanks, Aidan. No, I think really since the formation of the Logistics and Supply Chain Skills Group in 2019, it's brought together kind of many different professional groups and organising bodies and universities and so on. And so now we're talking to each other much more. The traineeships and apprenticeships have come along at the same time in supply chain logistics. So it's a fantastic opportunity. And also, I think with the CAO form now, that at second level, you can apply when you finish your leaving cert. At that kind of age, you can then apply for an apprenticeship or traineeship. And it's good to see that there's quite a few apprenticeships, traineeships in the area of supply chain and logistics. And I think it's quite interesting the point Fergal's making, that it is going towards blended learning and much more online, which means you can have a traineeship or apprenticeship and maybe be anywhere in the country to a certain extent. But obviously, the face-to-face element is important too. So I think it's kind of, and also I think with the circular economy, that we've a Minister of the Circular Economy. So it's and sustainability is becoming quite a big thing in manufacturing and logistics everywhere. So I think there's the future looks very good, and it's great to get everyone together for this presentation. And back to you, Aidan, just to finish.
Great. Well, look, thanks again, everybody, for your contributions. Thanks to the Department of Transport and to their colleagues and our colleagues within the Logistics and Supply Chain Skills group for organising all the very many webinar and in-person events during the first ever Logistics Supply Chain Skills Week. So we just keep working together and keep being positive about our industry, and we will end it there. And thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.